Snow whispered across the barren plains of Norakar, sweeping thin veils of ice across black stone and frozen ridges that stretched toward a colorless sky. The planet had no cities, no shelters, no witnesses, only a silence so complete it felt hostile. Into that desolate hush descended the Vorex Dominion's shadow fleet, releasing 10,000 assassins engineered for a single purpose: the extinction of humanity's rising influence. Their arrival was deliberate, merciless, and absolute. Every world that had encountered these assassins had fallen with terrifying efficiency, and the galaxy braced itself for another swift erasure. Yet Earth did not respond with fleets or fortresses. It sent two individuals. The first stepped from the dropship with the unhurried confidence of someone who had faced the abyss and found it unimpressive. Known only as the Reaper, he wore a visor shaped like a stylized skull, its expression frozen in an eternal sneer. Beneath heavy armor built to withstand brutal climates, his movements were deliberate and economical. Rumors claimed he could end a battle before most soldiers even understood it had begun. Those who served with him learned never to ask for his name, for he left the past behind as ruthlessly as he dispatched his enemies. Beside him moved a quieter shape wrapped in layered fabrics and reinforced plates designed for agility rather than intimidation. The ninja's presence felt as controlled as a held breath, and just as lethal when released. Ancient discipline fused seamlessly with advanced technology in every precise step he took. He scanned the horizon without a word, sensing the assassin's landing signatures as if reading the planet's pulse. Unlike the Reaper, his reputation rarely spread in grand stories. Instead, it traveled in hushed acknowledgments from those who survived operations no human should have endured. Together, they stood against a storm thick with hostile intent. The horizon shimmered where the first wave of assassins touched ground. Their bodies were sleek, their silhouettes sharp against the snow, for arms shifting in symmetrical readiness. They did not speak or gesture. They advanced simply because annihilation had been ordered. The Reaper watched their approach, calculating the angles, the distances, the timing of his first strike. The ninja focused instead on rhythm, how the assassins moved as one organism, how the snow reacted to their collective weight, how the wind distorted the edges of their formation. Dominion sent their finest. The Reaper muttered, voice metallic through the mask. The ninja nodded once. And they expect us to run. Reaper's tone darkened. They'll learn differently. Their drop ship lifted into the storm, engines fading until only the wind remained. The departure severed their last connection to safety, leaving them alone against an army. The Reaper planted a beacon in the snow, its faint glow quickly swallowed by drifting frost. The ninja concealed a set of microsensors beneath a ridge, calibrating them with swift, practiced motions. Every action served a purpose. Nothing was wasted. The assassin's march grew louder, a rhythmic vibration spreading through the frozen ground. Reaper raised his rifle, aligning the scope with the shifting figures. The ninja tightened the wrap around his wrist, ensuring flawless movement in the coming clash. 10,000, Reaper said softly. 2. The ninja answered, not as a boast, but as a statement of fact. With a single control breath, Reaper pulled the trigger. The first assassin fell, its mirrored armor shattering across the snow like scattered stars. The vast, pitiless machine of the Dominion paused for a single heartbeat, the smallest flicker of uncertainty. It was enough to begin the war for Norakar, and the storm watched. The blizzard thickened as the first assassins crossed into the valley, their forms shimmering like metallic phantoms through the curtains of drifting snow. Reaper lay prone on a jagged ridge, his body aligned with the weapon that had already claimed its first victim. He listened for the subtle shift in the wind, gauging the perfect moment to fire again. The assassins advanced in silence, each step synchronized, each movement calculated to erase every trace of hesitation. They were engineered for precision. They had never known failure, but they had also never faced humans who refused to be predictable. Reaper exhaled slowly and squeezed the trigger. The shot cracked through the storm, and another assassin crumpled into the snow. The formation rippled with a momentary break in rhythm. It was subtle, but he saw it. They were adaptable, but not immune to psychological disruption. He adjusted to a new angle, watching how quickly the nearest commander restored their order. That one would be trouble, and he marked the target for later. Far below, the ninja moved through the forest like a shadow that refused to obey the storm's pull. He used the branches to travel above the ground, disturbing almost nothing, slipping from one tree to another with an ease that defied the bitter cold. The assassins' drones swept overhead, their sensors slicing through the snow, but the ninja anticipated their patterns and timed each movement with ruthless precision. He leapt silently onto a low branch, drew a slim blade, and severed the drone's power core in a single fluid motion. It fell without sound, swallowed by the snow. He landed beside it, scanned the trees ahead, and sensed the first wave of ground troops approaching. There was no fear in him, only a focused stillness. The Dominion believed fearlessness belonged exclusively to their own creations, but humans carried something different. They felt fear, acknowledged it, and fought anyway. That, he knew, was the distinction the assassins would never understand. Reaper shifted positions as the assassins spread into the valley, their mirrored armor breaking the pale terrain into fragments of distorted reflections. He placed a disruptor beacon by his side and activated it, scattering false heat signatures across the hillside. The assassins hesitated once more, splitting their forces in response. Reaper smiled beneath the mask. Confusion was a potent weapon. One assassin sprinted up the ridge with impossible speed, claws extended. Reaper rolled to the side as the creature slashed at the rock, sending shards into the wind. The assassin turned, its four arms weaving a lethal pattern, but Reaper was already rising. A sharp pivot, a burst of energy from his rifle, and the assassin collapsed, smoke curling from the hole in its armor. Reaper retrieved a fresh mag, muttering, "Fast, but not fast enough." Deep in the forest, the ninja approached the first cluster of assassins. He counted 6, each scanning with overlapping fields of vision. He stepped into their blind spot, dropped low, and swept the legs of the nearest one. Before the others reacted, he drove his blade through the fallen assassin's core, rolled beneath a slicing arm, and vanished into the storm again. The assassins regrouped instantly, but their coordination faltered. They were accustomed to enemies who confronted them head-on, not ones who struck with the silence of a winter ghost. Reaper watched movement along the tree line and recognized the pattern as the ninja's approach signal. He activated a series of preset charges along the valley floor. The detonations echoed through the mountains, sending a shockwave of snow and debris crashing into the advancing assassins. Their formation shattered. The ninja emerged from the forest, landing beside him with barely a whisper. Reaper gave a brief nod. The assassins were adapting quickly, but the humans had already seized the tempo of the battle. "First wave broken," Reaper said. "Then let's break the second," the ninja replied. Together they stepped into the storm, the next onslaught already gathering. The storm shifted as if sensing the escalation, its icy breath sweeping across the valley in violent gusts. Reaper and the ninja stood at the broken edge of the forest, watching as the next wave of assassins emerged through the snow. This group moved differently, tighter, faster, more reactive. Their commanders had analyzed the first wave's failure and adapted. Reaper tightened his grip on his rifle. Adaptation was expected. Overconfidence was fatal. But these assassins were no longer overconfident. They were calculating with renewed precision. The assassins spread into a wide crescent, boxing the humans in from 3 directions. Reaper quickly mapped their trajectories in his visor. Each assassin's movement was tracked, plotted, and predicted. He could hit many of them from here, but firing would reveal his exact location. The ninja sensed the hesitation, glanced at him, and spoke with quiet certainty. "I'll shift their line. You strike when they're off balance." Reaper nodded once, and the ninja vanished into the storm. His silhouette dissolved into the swirl of snow as he darted low across the ground, weaving between jagged rocks and splintered branches. The assassins reacted almost immediately, directing a cluster of warriors to intercept. The ninja accelerated, each step a silent explosion of motion. When the assassins closed the gap, he leapt upward, twisting through the air, and descended behind them in a whisper. In 3 precise movements, he severed the connectors running along their spines. The assassins collapsed, their systems sputtering. The crescent formation wavered. That was all Reaper needed. He shifted his rifle into its high-impact configuration and fired a volley of shots that carved through the storm. The first bullet ricocheted off a frozen boulder and buried itself in an assassin's throat. The second allowed the wind to curve it into the commander at the formation center. The third traveled through a narrow gap between 2 charging warriors, striking a target several paces behind them. Each shot disrupted the Dominion's carefully orchestrated advance. But the assassins did not retreat. They surged forward with renewed aggression, deploying elite units that moved like living shadows. One leapt onto the ridge above Reaper, a void walker whose body flickered between dimensions. Reaper rolled as its blade cut through the space he occupied a heartbeat earlier. The assassin reappeared behind him, slicing downward. Reaper slammed his gauntlet into the ground, releasing a shock pulse that distorted the assassin's temporal field. It staggered, momentarily anchored in real space, and Reaper fired a round directly into its head. Meanwhile, the ninja faced an elite commander of his own. This one was taller, armored with a lattice of shimmering plates that adjusted to every movement. It wielded 2 curved blades coated in a toxin designed to dissolve organic matter. The ninja circled it in silence, testing its reactions with feints. The assassin mirrored each motion with unsettling precision. Lightning fast, it struck. The ninja ducked beneath the first blade, deflected the second with the back of his forearm guard, and spun away. Sparks drifted through the icy air. The assassin pressed forward, its forearms a blur. The ninja's calm deepened. He watched not the blades, but the rhythm between them. There, a half-beat, a micro-gap. He stepped in, pivoted, and drove his elbow into the creature's throat. The armor fractured. Before it recovered, he swept its legs, pinned one arm with his knee, and plunged his blade downward. The assassin convulsed once and lay still. Reaper fired another calculated volley, breaking the remnants of the crescent formation. The assassins faltered. Their probability models, flawless until now, were collapsing under the chaos inflicted by only 2 humans. The ninja returned to Reaper's side, breathing steady. Their commanders are losing cohesion. Reaper scanned the shifting mass ahead. Good, because the next wave is already moving. Through the blizzard, hundreds more assassins advanced, their eyes glowing through the haze. The valley trembled beneath their synchronized steps. The storm raged harder, as if the planet itself braced for what came next. Reaper chambered a fresh round. The ninja tightened his grip on his blade. Together, they stepped forward to meet the oncoming army. The valley roared with approaching footsteps, an army of assassins marching with deadly synchronization. Reaper and the ninja stood at the heart of the storm, the last 2 figures of warmth in a world sculpted by ice and conflict. Reaper steadied his breathing, letting the cold bite into him until every nerve felt sharpened. The ninja exhaled slowly, grounding himself in the calm before the next eruption of violence. Neither spoke. They understood what was coming, and neither intended to yield. The assassins surged forward, their mirrored armor capturing the faint light of distant stars. They moved with reinforced coordination, driven now not by strategy alone, but by the Dominion's insistence that 2 humans could not be allowed to stand against them. Reaper recognized their desperation. He had seen similar patterns in human armies cornered by inevitability. These assassins, for all their engineering, were displaying the unmistakable rhythm of fear creeping into logic. Reaper triggered his first explosive sequence, sending a chain of detonations across the valley floor. The blast waves carved channels through the snow, tearing apart the formation center. The assassins adapted instantly, leaping over the craters in precise arcs. Reaper used the disruption to reposition, sliding behind a broken slab of ice, rifle already shifting into its multi-strike mode. He fired 3 shots in rapid succession, each ricocheting off naturalized formations to hit targets concealed behind the snowy haze. The air trembled with each impact. The ninja darted forward as the shockwave settled, weaving through the chaos Reaper had created. His blade flashed like a sliver of moonlight, cutting through joints and neural conduits with effortless accuracy. An assassin lunged from his left, claws extended, but he twisted beneath its arm, drove his knee into its abdomen, and finished it with a swift slice that ended its systems in silence. Another dropped from above, descending with crushing force. The ninja rolled, rose in a single fluid motion, and severed its legs before it hit the ground. Despite the mounting losses, more assassins poured through the valley, their numbers seemingly endless. Reaper realized the Dominion had committed everything to this final wave. They intended to overwhelm, not outthink. Good, he thought. Overwhelming attacks bred vulnerability. He initiated his last trap, a corridor of charges arranged in meticulous alignment, buried beneath layers of snow. With a coded flick of his wrist, the sequence armed. The ninja caught the signal instantly and shifted his movements, drawing the assassin's attention and guiding them toward the hidden kill zone. He darted across the valley, feigning fatigue, allowing his footing to slip just slightly, enough to look vulnerable, enough to bait pursuit. The assassins took the lure with mechanical certainty. Reaper waited until the precise moment when the majority funneled into the narrow path. Then he pressed the trigger. The valley erupted. Ice shattered like glass. Snow lifted in a massive plume, and armored bodies scattered in every direction. The shockwave rolled through the mountains, echoing across the frozen wilderness. When the clouds settled, only a fraction of the assassins remained standing, their flawless formations reduced to fractured clusters. The ninja landed beside Reaper, his chest rising and falling steadily. His armor was torn in several places, though none of the damage slowed him. "They're broken," he said quietly. Reaper watched the remaining assassins hesitate, uncertainty finally penetrating their rigid programming. Then this ends now. Together they advanced. The final confrontation unfolded with brutal efficiency. Reaper's rifle spoke in thunderous bursts, cutting down leaders and scattering their followers. The ninja closed the remaining distance, eliminating survivors with swift, decisive strikes. The last assassin attempted to flee, but the ninja intercepted it, ending the conflict with a single, precise motion. Silence settled over the valley, heavy and absolute. Snow drifted down in slow spirals, covering the remnants of the Dominion's most feared force. Reaper lowered his rifle. The ninja wiped his blade clean and sheathed it. For a long moment, neither spoke. The wind was the only thing that dared break the quiet. Finally, Reaper looked toward the horizon. They sent 10,000. The ninja finished the thought with calm conviction. Earth sent 2. Their footprints stretched across the snow as they walked onward, leaving behind a legend that the galaxy would never forget.